I'd like to make some comments relating to agenda items 13 and 14, which are a cost participation agreement between the City of Austin and a multifamily developer. Specifically, Austin will be contributing funding to upsize a wastewater line extension that's already been approved administratively on Emmanuel Road in an area where this road is itself the boundary between Austin ETJ and Pflugerville ETJ. So it is not in full service Austin area, and nor is it on a boundary with full service Austin area. Because this property is in the desired development zone, the water wastewater line extensions do not require a council vote. Instead, this item is on our agenda for a vote on cost sharing. In other words, investment of funds by the City of Austin into an upsizing of this water and wastewater line in order to support both this housing development and future housing development. I do support both this both the service extension and the related cost collaboration, but I must also highlight, not least of which because of so many of the comments that I have heard today, that we need more affordable housing with reliable utility service in every neighborhood of Austin, all across the northern suburbs of Austin, not just in Northeast Austin. I have witnessed in the areas that along the roads and the various corridors that my own district's residents and workers traverse very regularly, a great need for more predictable approval of water and wastewater service extensions, investment in that infrastructure before it fails, particularly in an environmentally sensitive zone, and also a great need for the forging of new partnerships to deliver these benefits at the lowest possible cost to Austin taxpayers that are adjacent to District 10. We continue to find areas of the Austin ETJ that do not benefit from council representation, but they are subject to Austin's environmental restrictions without gaining the benefits of collaborative partnership and cost sharing and predictable extension of service. I can say that I have seen firsthand before I ran for office and since I have taken office, the great need for new partnerships around affordable housing development in these areas with counties and school districts that serve so many Austin addresses in these areas. And I speak of Williamson County, that is 60% of District 6, even more were we to look at the areas of Austin ETJ that are in Williamson County. Round Rock ISD, which serves more than 90% of District 6, even more if we considered the Austin ETJ parts of Round Rock ISD. And I lay all this out not because I do not support this item being on consent. I do support it. However, I must now turn to items 16 and 17, which are much closer to home for me, where I've already heard a number of council members voice that they do not support a wastewater service extension that has been requested similarly by a multifamily developer. This particular multifamily development will include a significant amount of affordable housing. As we have seen the presentations and the slides both today and on other days, we can see very clearly that no DB90 development has occurred in District 6. There was a public commenter who showed that in a slide. We've seen this over and over again, where District 6 has 0% participation in many city programs. I, as someone who represents neighborhoods that travel the stretch of 620, where this request for wastewater service extension is being made, can say wholeheartedly that we need affordable housing in District 6. We need affordable housing on the 620 corridor. We also need transit to serve these areas where so many people have already been displaced from Central Austin out to these outlying areas without sidewalks, without bus service, and they are traveling often by foot or bike in very dangerous conditions to reach the nearest transit or to reach their employers who are along these very corridors. And so I, in contrast to those who have weighed in specifically on items 16 and 17, I fully support the extension of wastewater service to this affordable housing development that's proposed. Yes, they're in the ETJ. Yes, the legislature has granted people in the Austin ETJ and all ETJs the ability to de-annex. If we want to work in the most effective way possible, using our resources as effectively as possible to meet the needs for safety, security, transit, and high quality of life for all of our community, we can't keep doing things the way that we always have. We've got to make new partnerships. We've got to work together. We have to recognize that we have an affordable housing developer trying to bring this development to this area with water and wastewater service that will serve future development, less expensive to put in future development with zero cost sharing from our city. And most of the council who has come have gotten extra special consideration around whether we want to allow this level of development. The big difference between the affordable housing development that is requesting wastewater service extension on 620 on the west side of town versus the development that had an administratively approved wastewater extension, and the city is contributing dollars to upgrade that service extension to support future housing. The difference is that that area on the east side is in the desired development zone. And on the west side, yes, there are environmental considerations, but if we don't find a way to use our dollars to create partnerships and to create investment in our wastewater infrastructure on the west side of town, we're going to keep having sewage spills of 100,000 gallons directly above Bull Creek. That was a major part of the reason that I ran for office, and it is why I support extending this wastewater line in 16 and relating to agenda items 16 and 17, and I will continue to be a voice for bringing this type of support for affordable housing development and transit and sidewalks to 620. With that, I'll go ahead and comment briefly on item 80, DD 90. Although I arrived today planning to vote in support of this, having listened and thought about the commentary that I've seen today and how it relates to what I've seen play out across the parts of the city that I know best, I would like to be noted as abstaining from item 80. As far as item 75, which relates to the Central Texas Construction Partnership Program, I would like to, can I ask for a point of clarification from legal? So one of the questions that I submitted regarding this item read, although Williamson County and other neighboring counties are not explicitly included in the interlocal agreement, will they be engaged or communicated with as part of the Central Texas Construction Partnership Program, particularly in areas where infrastructure projects overlap or impact the Austin metro region? The answer that I got was yes. This program has been envisioned as a regional program from the start, covering Central Texas, including coordination with neighboring counties. Existing coordination is focused on the initial partners who have or may have projects near one another in the core of Central Texas. So my point of clarification relates to the scope of this grant and this project. With all due respect to everyone, all the staff, so many staff have answered questions from my office relating to this particular grant, to this particular project. With all due respect, I believe my district to be central to the Central Texas region. I believe 60% of my district in Williamson County is a central part of this project, and I have this answer right before me now saying that this program has always been envisioned as a regional program that covers Central Texas and is in the core of Central Texas. So my question for legal, and I'm completely will accept whatever advice you give me here and now in the service of moving forward in a way that can be most productive, is Williamson County and construction zones that are in Williamson County with Austin addresses part of the scope of this project to address construction zones and promote adoption of multimodal transit solutions where we have construction zones relating to all these big projects? Is Williamson County inside or out of the scope of what we have on the consent agenda today?
Councilmember Cindy Crosby with the Law Department. Currently, as posted, Williamson County is not necessarily the proposed part. Definitely, as shown in staff's answer and be part of the discussion and coordination with staff generally, but they are not part of the interlocal itself.
Okay, and so many of you have heard me hold forth from here before, also in meetings, about how vitally important I find it to forge partnerships that include all of our Austin addresses, that do not leave out the 60% of my district that's Williamson, that has had significant growth, very little transit investment or planning in the last decade. And I have asked specifically about this particular grant in the past, and what I would ask now is, while I wholeheartedly support the direction that Councilmember Ellis has brought forward, and I want to make that quite clear, and I will vote yes on this item, I also ask for assistance from Austin staff, from legal to transportation and public works to any other related departments, and also from my colleagues on this dais. Please help bring new partnerships to District 6 around affordable housing, around multi-transit, around all of these investments where we could forge partnerships with other cost partners. And I would ask also more broadly, I've asked it before, I'll ask it now, I would ask that when we as a council consider federal grants on things like construction zones, can we please do strive to include more of our city's construction zones and areas in these grant requests, so that we're not after the fact trying to incorporate them in. But I appreciate that I come in the middle of something that began long before I arrived. I will be supporting this item, and I will be looking forward gratefully to all of your assistance in bringing more of my district into these types of projects. Thank you so much for that. I also would like to comment on number 62, the Downtown Austin Homelessness Response Program. I want to extend my gratitude to the Downtown Austin Alliance for their partnership with the city on addressing homelessness issues where they are the most concentrated. The hApp program is a way to compassionately respond to individuals in crisis, and I'm happy to see our local business owners supporting these efforts. I want nothing more than to see these types of collaborative cooperation extended to the many areas of the city that still struggle, as most do, with homelessness. As far as number 70, I'm so excited to have joined the party late on this. Mobile food vendors. Thank you, Councilmember Velasquez, and all who did work on this before I came to speak on it. Mobile food trucks, I'm just going to call them food trucks, are so vital to the culinary diversity of our city, to our small, locally owned businesses. They are a huge part of our community building and life out in my part of the suburban world, and they are everywhere in the city. And I am so grateful that it will be easier for our locally owned business and food truck owners to do things like get inspections when their food trucks are far from these central areas. So appreciated. And it's something that I get inquiries about in my office regularly. And last but not least, number 84. This is the age-friendly community IFC. I want to thank the Mayor Pro Tem for affirming our city's commitment to ensuring an age-friendly community and exploring expanded resources. This is important work for the city. As a co-sponsor. Thank you so much.
Without objection, to be shown as Councilmember Land to be shown as a co-sponsor of item number 84. That's all the people I've said that have indicated they wish to speak. Councilmember Harper Madison, I want to make sure that if you want to speak, that I've recognized you and didn't miss you in some way. All right, then, members, the motion is to approve the consent agenda as read. Yes, Councilmember Harper Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you acknowledging me. I didn't have anything to add. That was a question so much as I really appreciate. I just wanted to offer you something in the way of, you said something earlier, if you listen long enough, somebody's going to offer you a compliment. I wanted to offer you a compliment. I appreciate you conducting the meeting in the manner that you have, given the amount of items that we have to consider. I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Mayor, for keeping the meeting on track and moving it in a direction where, you know, something I've had the opportunity to consider as of late, as I'm moving into my exit, how much time we wasted in meetings And the fact that you don't do that, I don't know that anybody has offered you the opportunity to recognize. I think there's probably an audit that's in order for how much time we wasted in meetings that you don't do. And
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'll give you additional time if you'd like. No. I'm teasing. That would be a waste of time. So, thank you very much. I appreciate the nice comments. Members, is there anyone wishing to be shown abstaining from a vote on any item on the consent agenda? I have Councilmember Lane abstaining on item number 8. Any other abstentions? Yes, sir. Councilmember Siegel will be shown abstaining on item number 32. Is there anyone wishing to be shown recusing themselves from a vote on any of the items on the consent agenda? I see none. Those voting no, I have Councilmember Alter, Siegel, Cadre, and Duchin voting no on items 16 and 17. I have Councilmember Duchin being shown voting no on items 23, 32, and 72. I'll get it. Councilmember Duchin, can you make sure I have 22, 32, and 72? I just wrote them down. Okay. Anybody else wishing to be shown voting no on any item on the consent agenda? Without objection, the consent agenda is adopted with Councilmember Lane being abstaining on item 80, Councilmember Siegel abstaining on 32, Councilmembers Alter, Siegel, Cadre, and Duchin voting no on 16 and 17, and Councilmember Duchin voting no on 23, 22, 32, and 72. For the record, 22, 32, and 72. Don't let me make a joke and screw it up. All right, the consent agenda is adopted. Members, here's the order I'm going to go. I'm going to go to AHFC, then we will go to public hearings, and then we will go to the zoning items. Without objection, the City Council of Austin, Texas is in recess at 2:39 p.m. and I will now call to order at 2:39 p.m. the Board of Directors meeting at the Austin Housing Finance Corporation. We are meeting in City Council chambers at City Hall at 301 West 2nd Street in Austin, Texas, and we have all of the board members present. Staff.
Good morning, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, Board of Directors. My name is James May. I'm the Housing and Community Development Officer with the Housing Department. I would like to present.
Hang on a second, Mr. May. If you are speaking and you're in the council chambers and you're not this guy, you shouldn't be talking. Go ahead.
Thanks, sir. I'd like to present your agenda for today. You have 3 items on your agenda. 4 are listed. The last item has been withdrawn to ensure we are in compliance with newly passed state law. The first item is the approval of the minutes from the April 10th floor meeting. The second item is to approve payment for the Grove Land Unit Development. This is 32 affordable rental units for households whose incomes are at or below 60% of the median family income. This is an agreement that was signed. We have cash ready to pay. We just need approval from you. And finally, we'd like to approve contract for construction services for the Doris Hathaway Affordable Residential Development located at 8404 Hathaway Drive. This would be with Construct a Noble in the amount of $747,000 for the total contract award of $822,000 to build the units that will be part of the community land fund on that property. I offer all 3 of these on consent.
Board members, is there anyone that has a question of staff on these items? All right, let's turn to the city clerk and see if anybody has signed up to speak on the 3 items. Number 4 was withdrawn.
Yes, Sylvia Joseph, item number 2.
Ms. Joseph, you'll come forward on item number 2. Ms. Joseph's going to talk to us.
Thank you, Mayor.
He'll come on.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Glad to talk to you. I just wanted to make a comment as it related to the Grove. I want to call your attention in 2016 when Capital Metro created the 52 bus route changes. Russ Chisholm, who was a consultant, did not recommend Route 345 unless the Grove was extended. Today, that route actually was improved. It runs every 30 minutes, but I want to remind you that our brothers and sisters at Community First Village wait 60 minutes in their wheelchairs. And so while I certainly appreciate that you're going to put some low-income housing in that area, I would ask you to get the staff to provide a map overlay when you see these projects so that you can actually understand where the 30% area median income units are. I don't think you are putting very many, if any, West Austin. I do want to remind you that Espero, Rutland, 1934 Rutland Drive, that is where you have 101 out of 171 units for 30% area median income. 100 of those are voucher holders. Mandy DeMayo told us it would be about 50. KXAN reported the 50, and then there was a bait and switch, and we ended up with 101 because HACA gave some vouchers and the city gave some. So it is deeply disturbing that the buses are running empty in that area, whereas Black people are waiting 60 minutes for the bus, 10 times longer than white people in Northeast Austin, Colony Park. I see you looking down there. It would be helpful if you just post a clock so that we know how much time we have left, just like at the legislature. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them at this time. I want you to understand that this system is discriminatory, and my comments, as they always are in the context of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination against race, color, or national origin. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
That was all speakers for consent.
Those are all the speakers that signed up on the consent agenda for the Austin Housing Finance Corporation Board of Directors meeting. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda, which is items 1, 2, and 3, and item 4 has been read into the record as being withdrawn. Is there a motion? Motion made by Board Member Vela, seconded by Board Member Alter. Is there any discussion? Yeah.
One correction, the item was not withdrawn, it is postponed until July, or until a future date.
All right, fair enough. We're not gonna vote on it.
There you go.
Is that all right? With that being said.
Mayor, we do have someone that signed up to speak on that. It is postponed.
Okay.
Zenobia, did you want to speak to the mayor to the postponement for item 4?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and Zenobia Joseph. I just want to call to your attention, Mayor, respectfully, earlier you voted on the consent agenda, and then you, once again, it was viewpoint discrimination because I had signed up for I-84, but for now, I'll go ahead and just speak on 4. That's the nonprofit formation. It's in Southwest Parkway area. I just want you to ask the staff when they bring this back before you, for Mandy DeMayo to be transparent, to explain when these nonprofit organizations are created with no members and what the purpose of it is. It appears to just be an opportunity for her to continue these unilateral decisions without public input. It's opaque, and so I would ask you to be far more transparent. I won't speak to the item itself, but I actually oppose you bringing this back, but I know you're going to see it again. So I would just ask you to do that and to also have a map overlay. I'm sure she knows exactly where the affordable housing is in the city, but an overlay with the area median income, the total units would be helpful. And also that explanation as it relates to the 501c3 creation. If you have any questions, I'll go ahead and answer them at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
You're welcome.
All right, members, that concludes all of the speakers on the consent agenda. The consent agenda has been, the motion has been made and seconded. Discussion with regard to consent agenda, Board Member Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to highlight item 3 on the agenda, which is going to be something that we don't see a lot of, but affordable ownership units. We're building about, I think, 25 units at 60 to 80% MFI for ownership. This is land that's right across the street, Vernon Middle, and I'm hoping that the staff and teachers from Vernon or AISD, I believe we bought the property originally from AISD, will be able to take advantage of this affordable housing ownership opportunity. I'm just happy to see it go through, and I just want to say thank you to staff for moving it forward.
Thank you, Board Member. Any other comments? Is anyone wishing to be shown abstaining from voting on an item on the consent agenda as it's been presented? Anyone wishing to be shown recusing themselves from the vote on the consent agenda? Anyone wishing to be shown voting no on any item on the consent agenda? That being the case, without objection, the consent agenda for the Austin Housing Finance Corporation Board of Directors meeting is adopted with Councilmember Harper Madison temporarily off the dais. Members, with there being no further business to come before the Board of Directors of the Austin Housing Finance Corporation, without objection, at 2:47 p.m., we adjourn the meeting of the Austin Housing Finance Corporation Board of Directors. I'll call back to order at 2:47 p.m. The meeting of the Austin City Council. Members, you'll recall the two eminent domain items, items 88 and 89, have been withdrawn. That will take us to item 91. Item number 1 is a public hearing, and without objection, we will open the public hearing on item number 91. The public hearing is now open, and I will turn to the city clerk.
Zenobia Joseph, 91.
I'm Zenobia Joseph. This is specifically related to the HUD Action Plan 2025-2026. What I want you to recognize is that the Commission on Aging is actually on page 34 of the document. 99 to 100 tells you about the barriers to affordable housing. I want you to recognize that while the item that you actually heard as it relates to our seniors may feel good, it actually is directing the city manager to look at transportation for the seniors in Service Plan 2035. 2025 Service Plan is what's before you. I want you to recognize this is an elder who spoke, Ruby Tyrone, and she basically said Metro don't care about us. And specifically, she was talking about the Route 300, Rogge and Manor, where Capital Metro eliminated that unilaterally. I want you to understand, specifically on the screen, Caitlin Dalton, who is now your transit and enhancement manager in the transportation department, unilaterally eliminated 240 Rutland, and the information is before you. She eliminated service to St. David's, and there was no input from the public. I want you to understand that she violated Federal Transit Administration Circular 4702.1B. 4-16 specified that they were supposed to find the least discriminatory alternative. I want you to understand as well, in the right upper corner, you'll see in 2017, our seniors did go before Capital Metro. As a matter of fact, on November 1st, 2017, they held 2 public hearings. But Capital Metro actually collected surveys, about 5,000 from white choice riders. Age 25 to 35, they made $100,000. They actually had access to 2 vehicles, and then the service changed for them. So it is deeply disturbing and disingenuous for you to now consider the minorities and our seniors. It is a half-mile walk from Collinwood today. Our senior citizens pay $7 for Uber to get from Breaker, North Lamar. Please do better.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
That's all the speakers for
Members,
now.
those are all the people who signed up to speak on item number 91. Item number 91 is to conduct a hearing and receive input. There is not action scheduled for item number 91, so without objection, we will close the public hearing on item number 91. The public hearing is now closed. Item number 92 has been postponed. Let me ask if there's anyone signed up to speak on item number 92.
Yes, there are 2 speakers to speak on the postponement, John Hildreth and Philip Wiley.
Mr. Hildreth, Mr. Wiley. Mr. Hildreth, Mr. Wiley. I don't believe they're here. Item number 92, members, was postponed. Item number 93 is also a postponement. Let me ask if anybody has signed up to speak on the postponement.
Yes, I have several speakers for 93 in this postponement. Stuart Hirsch, Ryan Crowley, Grant Gilfer, Christian Shope.
If you signed up to speak on this, please come forward. We're only taking testimony on the merits of whether we ought to be postponing this and not on the merits of the matter itself. And it's being postponed.
Thank you, Council. I mostly just want to highlight that, as I mentioned in my previous, just went in the previous item in the consent agenda, that this is related to an area where a lot of students are going to be impacted. And I want to note that this was originally scheduled for multiple other postponements, that this meeting would have been happening during the end of finals time for students. My understanding is that your intention is to postpone it till September 25th. I just want to highlight that if it was at this exact same time on that date, it would be very likely that many students would be in classes and unable to participate. And so I'd just like you all to, when you're setting that agenda, consider that and try to make sure that this item comes up at a time where the many students that will be impacted by this UNO update can be able to participate. Thank you.
Thank
Sir,
you.
can you just state your name real
Oh,
quick?
yes, I apologize. My name is Ryan Crowley. I am a resident of District 3, and I work with College House as a provider in the UNO area.
Thank you for taking time.
Luis Ostalugo, Clea Wilkinson, Philip Wiley.
If your name's been called on that item, 93, and you wish to speak on the merits of the postponement.
Hi, Phil Wiley, downtown resident. I understand things happen and we have a new guy in town and they need time and there's a lot of important stuff going on here. I would encourage that we have some transparency. This is not a normal thing to happen. It isn't what Austin expects to happen. And so I would encourage UT to be open about what their concerns are and allow the public to share and knowing what that is and what they think needs to be done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All speakers for 93 have been called.
Thank you. Members, item number 93 is being postponed. Item number 94, without objection, we'll open the public hearing on item number 94. The public hearing is now open, and I'll turn to the city clerk.
I have 3 speakers, Lily Ann Ortiz, Bill Bunch, Bobby Levinsky.
Are any of those people present? Please call their names again.
Lily Ann Ortiz, Bill Bunch, Bobby Levinsky.
I don't see them. Members, those are all the people who signed up to speak at the public hearing on item number 94. So without objection, we will close the public hearing on item number 94. The public hearing is now closed, and the chair will entertain a motion with regard to the proposed ordinance. Councilmember Connery and Councilmember Ellis seconds, moves to adopt the ordinance. Is there discussion? Without objection, the item number 94 is approved with Council Members Vela and Harper Madison temporarily off the dais. Item number 95 is also an item that has been postponed, but let me ask if anyone has signed up to speak on the merits of the postponement.
There are no speakers.
And then item number 118 is an item for a public hearing, and that item has been withdrawn. According to my notes, that will now take us to our zoning items. And I'll recognize Ms. Horton.
Mayor and Council, I'm Julian with the Planning Department. Your zoning agenda begins with item number 96, NPA 2024-0020.01. This item is offered as a staff postponement to your July 24th council meeting. The related rezoning is item number 97, C14-2024-0168. Again, this item is offered as a staff postponement to your July 24th council meeting. Item 98 is NPA 2025-0019.01S8. This item is offered as a discussion postponement. The related rezoning is item 99, C14-2025-0034.S8. Again, this item is offered as a discussion postponement. For these items, the neighborhood is requesting a postponement to your July 24th council meeting, and this is the neighborhood's first postponement request. However, the proposed development is a 9% low-income tax credit with extremely strict deadlines, so the applicant is opposed to the postponement request. Please also note that these items were recommended by staff and the Planning Commission, and again, this is moving forward as a discussion postponement. Item 100 is C14-2025-0020. This item is being offered for consent on all 3 readings. Item 101 is C814-06-0109.03. This item is offered as a staff postponement request to your July 24th council meeting. Item 102 is C14-2024-0178. This item is offered for consent on all 3 readings. Item 103, C14-2024-0181. This item has been offered for consent second and third reading for this item. First reading was approved at your March 27th council meeting. This item was postponed at the neighborhood's request from your April 10th meeting to your May 22nd council meeting. And on May 22nd, this item was discussed and then offered for postponement to today. Again, this item is being offered for consent, second and third reading. Item 104, C14-2024-0151. This item is offered as a postponement request to your July 24th council meeting by Councilmember Lane. Item 105 is C14-2024-0175. This item is offered for consent on all three readings. Item 106 is C814-2023-0057. This item is offered for consent third reading with the following motion, and that motion reads, amend Part 16, subsection A5 to change the allowable maximum building height from 500 feet to 600 feet. And with that, this item again is offered for consent third reading. Item 107 is C14-2024-0155. This item is being offered for discussion. This item does have a valid petition, so a minimum 9 votes is required for approval. Item 108, well, the next three items, the next three cases are related, so item 108. C14-2024-0112, this item is being offered for postponement request by Councilmember Bella to your July 24th council meeting. Item 109 is C14-2024-0113, this item is offered as a postponement request by Councilmember Bella to your July 24th council meeting. And item 110, C14-2024-0114, this item is offered as a postponement request by Councilmember Cosby to your July 24th council meeting. Item 111, C14-2024-0165. This item is offered for consent, second and third reading. A related case to item 111 is item 112, C14-2024-0169. And again, this item is offered for consent, second and third reading. Item 113 is NPA 2024-0008.02. This item is offered for consent, third reading. The related rezoning is item 114, C14-2024-0107. This item is offered for consent, third reading. Please note that these items, speaking to 113 and 114, received a neighborhood postponement at your April 10th council meeting to your May 8th council meeting. On May 8th, these items were offered for first reading at the neighborhood's request. On May 22nd, these items were offered for second reading at the neighborhood's request. And now the staff is offering these items for consent third reading, but the neighborhood is requesting a second postponement request to your July 24th council meeting. A petition was filed, but was not valid. It stands at approximately 17%. Again, this item is being offered for consent third reading, and I did want to read in a motion sheet that was requested by Councilmember Harper Madison. And this motion sheet reads, amend to include a conditional overlay on the property with the following conditions. The property within the boundaries of the conditional overlay combining district established by this ordinance is subject to the following conditions. The following uses are prohibited uses on the property: agricultural sales and service, automotive repair service, automotive rental, automotive sales, automotive washing of any type, bell bond services, building maintenance services, campground, commercial off-street parking, construction sales and service, convenience stores, drop-off, recycling, collection facility, electronic prototype assembly, electronic testing, equipment repair services, equipment sales, exterminating services, funeral services, monument retail sales, outdoor entertainment, pawn shop services. And again, with that, this item, or these two items are offered for consent third reading. Item 115 is C814-86023.03. This item is offered for consent on all three readings. Item 116 is NPA 2025-0019.02. This item is offered as staff postponement to your September 25th council meeting. Item 117, C20-2024-010. This item is offered for staff postponement to your September 25th council meeting. This concludes the reading of the zoning and NPA agenda, and as always, this is a court of.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Councilmember Country.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I'd like to move items 98 and 99, the consent agenda with staff recommended zoning on all three readings. And then I'd also.
Hang on. So what you're saying is instead of the postponement, you're asking that they be put on the consent agenda on all three readings?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
With the staff recommended, sir.
hang on one second. I want to figure out how best to do that. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna, based upon that, and that being such a difference between discussion item for postponement and putting it on for all three readings, what I'm gonna ask that you do is let's just pull those two items. They won't be on the consent agenda, but the motion, I'll recognize the motion to approve them on all three readings and allow for a discussion with the cover agenda.
Great. And then could I bring up another?
Sure.
Great. I know you were looking at me, I wasn't sure. So item 107, I move to move item 107 to the consent agenda with a planning commission recommendation.
Well, again, what I'll do is I'll pull that and recognize you for a specific motion on that.
Okay, great.
Since we're talking about that, members, what I was thinking we would also do is on item 103, simply because of the number of people that are signed up to speak on item number 103, that while I'm not saying it's a discussion item in the sense that we treat discussion items differently, pull that off so that we can cover the other items that have fewer people here to talk, so that we don't have them have to sit through all of the 103. They can leave if the matter is taken up more rapidly, unless there's an objection. That's what I would recommend on 103.
My only question, what would the order, then would it be 98, 99?
Yeah, I just go with the numbers. Yeah, I just follow the numbers at that point. Particularly since 98, 99, I'll look at 107 here in just a second, see how many other people have signed up to speak on that. I may have the same logic if that's the case. Okay, so here's the proposed consent agenda. 96 and 97 postponed to 7/24. 100, all three readings. 101 postponed to 7/24. 102, consent on all three readings. 104, postponement to 7/24. 105, all three readings. 106 on third reading as Ms. Harden, with the additional motion that Ms. Harden has read into the record. 107 will be pulled. 108, 109, and 110 are postponements to July 24. 111 and 112, second and third reading. 113 and 114, I'm sorry, 113 third reading, 114 on third reading with the additional motion that Ms. Harden read into the record. 115, all three readings, 116 and 117 to September 25th. That will be the consent agenda. We will have public testimony on that. Let me go ahead and turn to, you have anything to add, Ms. Harden? And I read that right? Very good. That was the right answer too. So, all right, well, with that, we'll turn to the city clerk.
For the merits of the postponement, sorry, he's remote, I don't have anyone remote. I'm gonna go straight to item 105, Chris Page, Halima Foster, Jenny Grayson.
If your name has been called, please come to the front.
On 105, I also have Alexandria Anderson, Sol Praxis, Brad Massingill. Item 106, Bill Budge. On the merits of the postponement for 108, Brian Bedrosian. As he's coming down on deck, I have 109, the merits of the postponement, Brad Massenkill and Brian Bedrosian as well.
If it's okay, I'll speak. I'm set up for the next three items. I'll speak now for all three. Thank you for letting me speak again. Brian Bedrosian, Chair of the Northwood Neighborhood Plan Contact Team. I would just like to thank council members Kadri and Bella for agreeing to the postponement. We are still in friendly negotiations with the developer on this project. It is going well. We just needed a little bit more time. So I appreciate the postponement. Thank you.
Brad Baskingill, 109. While he's walking in, I have 111, Bill Bunch. 112, Bill Bunch. Mr. Massengill, are you coming down to speak?
Brad Massengill again. Just after item 80, and this being another DD 90 case, I'd encourage y'all to postpone it. You know, it's not, I mean, this is what we should be doing, and postpone it for a lot longer until the deliberations on item 80. I think all these DD 90s need to wait. And anyway, this one's at 704 East 53rd Street, the Tenny Hill Branch watershed in District 4.
With the postponement, it was our hope that we have the opportunity to dive deeper, find creative ways to collaborate, and come to a win. We are here to speak in opposition of this development and others like it that are supposed to deliver deep affordability but are missing the ball. We still have crucial concerns around environmental stability, updated infrastructure, public safety, displacement, quality of life, and true affordability. As we know, nothing happens in isolation. Displacement is continuing to happen under this current council, just like the last two council cycles. Since 2018, based on the UT Uprooted study and the City of Austin Displacement Dashboard, our area has been an active displacement risk and vulnerable displacement risk because of these policies. It has not changed, and it's only being amplified. These specific areas where this development is located is currently labeled as an active development displacement risk. And as we continue to build, the numbers of areas that increase and continue to move further east, even with lower rental rates, there are still currently rental vacancies have increased. Our community is over getting the short end of the stick and having to make deals for crumbs. As if needed, all DB90 cases should be focused to these regulations and requirements are Resilience means more than just economic viability. And as we know, Austin has so much to offer, and we want the people that live in this community to not be displaced. There are plenty of Section 8 housing in this area, affordable housing. There are people that have homes, and further these people are being pushed out. If you have not gone to this area, if you have not been to this area, please go and check it out and reach out to the individuals that live in this area to find out more. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Page, President of the West Neighborhood Association, which is directly adjacent to where this DB90 is. It's a ASMP Level 2 road. The site is directly south of the steepest elevation change in East Austin, which is an unregistered critical environmental feature. I think the fact that it's not registered, as well as many of the springs that also exist along that road, speaks to our city's history of disinvestment or willful ignorance for what exists in East Austin. DB90 generates affordability levels that we know are inadequate for this particular census tract. If you compare what the census tract MFI is to what our MFIs that we would generate for fraction of units that would be income restricted in a DB90, there's a gross disparity. Essentially, we would be placemaking for no one in the neighborhood in an area that the city is actively mapped as gentrified. in the UT uprooted study, and many of the conversations that occurred on this dais before some of you were elected. So please, out of respect for the history of East Austin, the injustices that have been done through bad land policy, please listen to this neighborhood, try to calibrate it, and don't treat us as the next tree that you need to chop down. We're done with the axe. You've called it an axe, you know it's an axe. We don't need 4 axes, we need something that works. We need a scalpel. Thank you.
Mr. Page, did you want to speak on item 113?
If you could remind me which item that is.
2967 Mainer Road revision.
Sure. So the MLK Todd was originally designed with the intent of any new height, any new entitlement that goes to the development in that area, that would be required at 60% MFI for 25% of units. That's the spirit of the MLK Todd. We know that the MLK Todd has now worked out beautifully. In fact, it's worked out tragically. Most of the working class that would ordinarily be riding the rail, the only rail that we have in our city, have been displaced already. And in fact, what we have seen go into new development in the MLK Todd area is often high-income earners, typically white, that often have 1 to 2 vehicles, don't use the train that their new housing was built around. I think it's crucial that the spirit of the MLK Todd be preserved, that new height, new entitlement that is generated in that area receives the public funding that it should to subsidize affordable housing that is truly affordable to people that are much more likely to use transit, which is people that are the working class, people that don't have tons of money for extra cars. And I think that this particular site is certainly open for new development, but the development that would be delivered by DD90 is grossly out of whack, and it does not honor the spirit of MLK Todd, it dishonors it greatly. Thank you.
For item 113, Daniela Valier, are you here? Okay, she has time donated by Alexandra Anderson. Are you still here? I see in the back, 4 minutes. After Daniela, we have Mark Hilton, Brian Fedrosian.
Mayor Watson and council members, my name is Daniela, Neighborhood Association. First, thank you, Mayor. We recognize the initiative of thoughtful DB90 amendments. We also want to thank Vanessa Fuentes for advocating for a 1-to-1 affordable housing ratio. Chito Vela for emphasizing that this conversation is not about height, it's what brings back to the community. Ryan Hunter, we know you work around the neighborhood sometimes, so you know the infrastructure, you're familiar with the issues, we're still advocating for those. Councilmember Velasquez and Ziegler, thank you for stepping into the DB90 dialogue with purpose. Dushan, we appreciate your commitment to bringing affordability into new areas of our city. But today, we're looking at a site that will be reduced from 25% affordability to just 10% under DB90. Councilmember, so your office has been incredibly engaged with our neighborhood, and we're so grateful to be part of D92. Councilmember Lane and Ellis, thank you. Councilmember Harper Madison, we heard you on June 3rd. You recently said you will stand behind your D1 constituents, and we're proud of that. We're asking you to reflect that commitment today as well. We want to work with you. We want to shine with you. Our neighborhood has done the hard work. We've knocked on more than 200 doors, built an active network around us, but not only around us, the whole TOD. And we showed up with new ideas and with intent. Just last week, a neighbor on Randall asked where exactly our DB90 is allowed. I had to tell her there is actually no clear plan, and that's exactly the problem. But we're hoping to work on it.
that we submitted detailed restrictive covenant proposals, ideas that were rooted in sustainability, safety, and affordability. And just out of the blue, the developer said no more negotiations. So we're here with 150 petition signatures, and yet city staff disqualified only 16 that were digital. We provided proof that other neighborhoods' digital signatures were accepted in previous cases before. And again, we have a no. Let me be clear right now. Denying our petition today is saying no to those 150 neighbors who care deeply about our community and our future TOD. Many are excited to participate, but many long-term residents, including those who've been here since 1950, have told us they feel dismissed and hopeless. Maynard Road and Airport Boulevard is not just a corner. Us neighbors, we like to call it the portal to the east side. We deserve development that is transparent, collaborative, and thoughtful. Mayor, council members, we're asking you to respect our petition and allow us the time to shape this project the right way. This is the first TOD removal, and we're going to be united. We've admitted it's not right. Let's do it right. Let's set positive precedent and protect the values that make East Austin so special. And we're in the neighborhood. You haven't seen me around. I'm wearing this blazer today. I barely know what I'm doing. But we're asking that whatever happens today, if you don't want to grant us that postponement, we really want to keep working on the restricted covenants, even though they said no. We're asking for bare minimum. We're asking for bird lines. We're asking for better landscape. We're asking to take care of our creek that is behind that property. We're asking for bare minimum. Can we do better than bare minimum? Can we give more flexibility? We're asking for that.
Mayor, Council, Brian and Rosian, right now I'm just speaking as a citizen in Dina. I think the amount of times that I have shown up here to talk to y'all, you realize how much I believe in citizen participation in our local government. Daniela and her neighbors, this is the first time they've ever done this. They've formed a neighborhood association on nothing, and admittedly, they're not good at it yet. They're still working on it. The delays that have come from this process are a result of the fact that they are new to this process, and I think we need to make space where possible to encourage more neighborhoods to do this. I'm asking you today to please support their bid for postponement. They're not asking for a lot from this developer. They're just trying to make their neighborhood better. They're not fighting the developer. They're not fighting the project.
Thank you.
Jim Walker and Lisa Ramos.
If your name's been called.
Long time listener, first time speaker. I can talk about the absurdity of the location and every red flag for a development of this scale, starting that it's wedged between a tow truck center and a B-grade gas station. Next level. I can talk about who it is you all are entrusting to build this unprecedented development and their insulting website that has the same 3D rendering for multiple projects and a lack of placeholder text. Next slide. One of these devs runs a tax protest company, and the other is quietly helping Eureka empty out 12th Street of its residents and history. Next slide. I can even talk about the traffic disaster that will be created with its single entry and exit located directly opposite the new premium bus stop and 20 feet from one of Boston's most complex and dangerous intersections. Next slide. Or about how your own transport department stated that the proposed development will have to operate as a right-in, right-out access, thus creating our entire neighborhood as a traffic cut-through. I could talk about all these, I can talk about the absolute impenetrable roadblocks the city puts up against the community who are just doing this for free because they care about our homes and community's functions, like the 20% signatures for the TOD that we have to get. Compared to the smooth ride given to employed lobbyists like Thrower and developers who don't need to engage with us. They don't actually have to speak to us. Recently, we even had to listen to someone from Julian tell us that our neighborhood should be even grateful for the proposed development. But that's not what I want to say. What I want to say is we care deeply about our neighborhood, and we are the next generation of this neighborhood. Asked 3 months ago what a TOD was, I would have said it lives in a creek. We are trying as hard and as quickly as possible as a community to navigate these intricacies.
Your time is expired.
Hey, my name is Masao Ramos. I am the president of the Rogers Washington Holding Cross Neighborhood Association. And I want to start my testimony out by, one, shouting out the Austin Heights neighbors for actually organizing and bringing out all the neighbors in East Austin and Orange. They have worked tirelessly and knocked on doors to get this petition and just to get basic asks. I don't know if y'all been on Maynard Road and Airport, but on that intersection, it's insanely dangerous. We had a couple of deaths there a few months ago. Not to mention, on Maynard Road, that area floods because of the Upper Boggy Creek. The storm that just happened flooded a lot of cars, and it also floods a lot of houses in that area, in the Austin Heights neighborhood. These neighbors just want these type of protections, these type of analysis done that will actually give them a hospitable place to live and thrive and grow their neighborhood. And so that's why we're asking for this postponement to happen today. We thank everybody who's been on their side. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Natasha, for also standing with the people on this one. Vote to postpone. Thank you.
Jim Walker, president of the Cherrywood Neighborhood Association, we're also adjacent. I understand it's on third reading consent, but I would also encourage you to postpone, pull it off. There's actually a lot of progress made between the neighborhood and developer over the past several weeks that seem to kind of have been pulled back or dialed back quite a bit. I think that needs now more time to kind of come back into, be rewarded for the negotiation. I'll pile on as well with Ron and Michelle about recognizing Austin Heights for organizing. And just as that young speaker this morning, they're kind of acknowledging they're coming into public engagement, coming into public speaking. This is another neighborhood that's now organized around a controversial project to do that, and that needs some recognition. And then the thing that we, Cherrywood, stood on for with this particular parcel, you're carving a parcel out of a Todd. It's an old Todd. But that Maynard Road Airport intersection where you have 837 and I'm going to forget the other one, but 2 Metro Rapid bus lines there, that needs small area planning. There is a huge triangle of public right-of-way in front of this parcel that restricts how much it can be developed. That alone should trigger small area planning kind of effort and time. So for those reasons, and all the other reasons that Joe and others highlighted about the transit, the traffic impact, the affordability goals that were intended for this area, I encourage you to move on.
Moving on to item 114, Vincent Calzone, Chris Page, Jenny Grayson.
Hi, Vincent Calzone again.
Sir, let me just double check, because you have someone who donated time to you. Misael, are you still here? Misael Ramos? 4 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Earlier, I spoke about our skepticism of Austin Growth Ventures and their ability to develop the lot at 2967 Main Road. I'm not the only one who has this skepticism. You've heard from many people today that share my concerns, and on Tuesday afternoon, we submitted a petition with 147 signatures of our neighbors. There were many roadblocks to collecting these signatures. The city's interpretation of the affected area included the entire TOD, over 400 properties. Typically, these petitions concern only properties within 200 feet of the zoning change. Nevertheless, we knocked on at least 200 doors with the help of our neighbors. Over and over again, we heard concerns from our neighbors about the intersection at Main and Airport, specifically the lack of planning around new developments. A roadblock we did not encounter was reluctance to sign our petition. Of the few who were initially reluctant, we just showed them Austin Growth Ventures' website. Austin Growth Ventures' own website easily convinced our neighbors that this is not a serious project. Our next roadblock was that many of our neighbors are renters, about 40%. Many of our neighbors are elderly and have living trusts. Many lots have multiple condo units. Each of these requires additional documentation to submit the petition. When we finally tried to submit the petition, we went to multiple city offices and received varying instructions on how to properly submit. As for our last roadblock, we were told that electronic signatures don't count despite being accepted in previous zoning cases. From our perspective, the denial of electronic signatures seems legally and procedurally dubious. We ask that City Council steps in to send a strong message of support to our 147 neighbors and deny this zone change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexandria Anderson, Brad Massingill.
Your name's been called and you want to speak, please come forward.
I'm here to support Danielle in the neighborhood. They have been working really hard on this. I've been here every time they've been here and pleading with y'all to listen to them. This definitely needs to be postponed under the whole DB9 reworking thing. We're pointing out that this is in the Tanny Hill Ranch and Boggy Creek watersheds. The Tanny Hill Branch is picked up. I'm estimating 10 DB90s at this point, 85% impervious cover. I think we're flirting with a big flooding event if y'all keep approving these without due consideration. This is in District 1.
I'll be brief, as everyone has already shared their concerns. Months ago, they're not asking for much. I think we all understand that this is something that's never happened before, and so being able to consider it and being mindful of that. And definitely, please look at considering their electronic signatures. These people live in Berlin and other parts of the country, but they're still active and aware, and these neighbors took a lot of time to get the signatures for these individuals. So just support them, y'all.
Chris Page, District 1, Oakland Heights. Yeah, I don't want to waste your time. I think everyone has given a pretty good summary of the issues in this case, but some that have been maybe under-discussed are the amount of flooding that the site currently has with the underbuilt infrastructure. I think there's a 30-foot drainage easement on the southern portion of the lot, which backs up directly to a bunch of homes. And currently, I'm sure there is water just all over their property, sometimes into their house. If you're talking about radically increasing the amount of impervious cover on the site, then you are knowingly sanctioning or authorizing the property damage to adjacent homes. So that's something you should be concerned about, because health and human safety are one of the top priorities for all zoning. It's one of the reasons that zoning law exists. The affordability in this area needs deeper affordability than what DB90 offers. The street configuration definitely needs a lot of work, and there is a lot of right of way. But most importantly, we should not be setting a precedent that cuts up a TOD, because that will also cut up your DB TODs, and your ETODs, and everything else. So if you have any concern about all the policy that you created in the last couple of years, you should think seriously about whether or not someone can cut out a transit-oriented plan, a truly transit-oriented plan. So please listen to the neighbors. Don't use the X. Thank you.
Daniela Valle, Mark Hilton, Ryan Bedrosian.
So I just want everyone who's standing with Austin Heights neighborhood to just raise their hand or stand up. This is the power of people, and we're super proud of it. And I do want to clarify, this is not our second postponement. This is our first postponement, and we have the right to postpone. Somehow someone pulled out of their pocket that it was our second 15 minutes before this meeting started. I want to highlight that. This is our first right to postpone, and we deserve to be granted for it. And you know why? Because we actually want to make this project better. I want this development to thrive and to be the template for any other things that you guys have prepared in your toolbox. I want this to be safe for flooding. I want this to be safe for children and parents that want to cross that street. We came up with solutions to potentially make this program and this site said no more negotiations, let's go to this meeting. Let's just work with the neighbors, work with the 200 people that you guys are hearing about, and let's make something amazing.
Moving on to item 115, Roy Whaley, Linda Bailey, Marissa Lipsher.
If your name's been called, please come forward.
Okay. For the merits of the postponement for item 116, Betsy Greenberg, Karen Pope, Greg Anderson, Barbara MacArthur.
I believe my time was supposed to be donated by Barbara.
Is Barbara here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Betsy Greenberg, and I live in District 9, less than 2 blocks north of the University neighborhood overlay. I'm in favor of this postponement. In 2004, after 2 years of hard work and bi-weekly meetings with renters, homeowners, business owners, developers, fraternities, sororities, the University of Texas, and the city staff, a plan was developed to create dense housing for students near the University of Texas and maintain a high quality of life in surrounding neighborhoods. The result of this collaborative process involving varied interests was the University Neighborhood Overlay known as UNO. UNO has been extremely successful, resulting in 28,000 new residents with affordable housing options in an area that was designed to be convenient to the University of Texas, pedestrian-friendly and safe, while still respecting the surrounding neighborhoods. Recently, the City Council passed a resolution directing staff to make quality of life improvement and to expand the housing opportunities. Instead of bringing stakeholders together, as was done 20 years earlier, the staff has attempted to follow council direction and came up with a plan. As a member of CAMPAC, the contact team for this plan, I attended stakeholder meetings. At the first one, there was a presentation by staff on the resolution, and then months later, a presentation on the staff proposal. Questions were asked and feedback was given, but at least for our group, it seemed to fall on deaf ears. Instead of having a plan with broad support, everyone had complaints. Developers complained about tower spacing, religious organizations complained about limitations on parking garages, the University of Texas and many others didn't like 600 feet height on the drag, the University Tenants Union was concerned about tenant protections that weren't initially included, Safe Horns complained about the lack of safety protections, and surrounding neighbors didn't understand why UNO was being expanded so that the zoning on properties would include both DB UNO and DB Eton. Finally, the Planning Commission took a stab at the proposal. With no discussion at all, they decided to delete quality of life improvements like tower spacing and gatekeeper requirements. It took repeated motions to get 7 votes, but they recommended a new sub-district and height map. They also decided to vote to expand the UNO boundary into surrounding neighborhoods, saying it would give warning to people who live there about where the growth will be. In other words, they're telling us, we're coming for your home next. The University Neighborhood Overlay revision needs to go back to the drawing board. I'm relieved to see that the University of Texas asked for a postponement, and I'm hopeful that the next round of possible changes will involve more than just the largest stakeholder and will be a true collaborative process. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 117, Betsy Greenberg.
She's
Okay.
waiting.
Barbara McArthur, you donated time. Do you waive that as well? Okay. Karen Pope, Greg Anderson, this is on the merits of the postponement. Okay, Mayor, all of the consent speakers have been called for zoning.
All right, members, you'll recall that the consent agenda is 96, 97, 100, 101, 102, 104, 105, 106, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, and 117. And I yield to you again. I just want to make sure that for clarity purposes, everybody realizes we're pulling off 98 and 99. We'll take that up separately. That being said, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read? Motion made by Councilmember Ellis, seconded by Councilmember Vela. Members, I'll ask if there's any discussion with regard to the consent agenda. Yes, Councilmember Siegel?
I'd like to move to postpone until the next meeting, items 113 and 114.
Has moved to amend the motion, which was to adopt the consent agenda as read. His motion to amend and we don't have it in writing, but everybody will understand. I want to try to be make it where it's clear. The motion to amend by Councilmember Siegel is to amend the consent agenda to remove items 113 and 114 from passage today and postpone them until the next meeting where we'll be taking up substantive matters, non-budgetary substantive matters. Councilmember Siegel, is that okay the way I said that? Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Alter on the motion to amend. Is there discussion with regard to the motion to amend? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I need clarification from staff on whether or not this is, so there was some commentary on whether this was the first request from the neighborhood on postponement on item number 113, this is the Aspen.
Yes, I will say that I went back and looked at the council minutes, and the minutes say, I don't have the letter with me from the neighborhood from April 10th, but the minutes say neighborhood postponement from April 10th to May. So I don't have their official letter, but it was presented to y'all as a neighborhood postponement, and y'all supported the neighborhood postponement, yes.
Okay, so council did support.
Yes,
Yes. Thank you.
Councilmember Harper Madison, I want to make sure I recognize you. There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Ms. Harden just offered the clarification that I was looking for, but I also just wanted to just clarify that I'm here. I'm having tech issues, and so my team has been like my work phone, myself, all the votes, and so just I know I missed a couple votes, and so I don't think there are any votes that I missed that we could go back on where I'll change the outcome of the vote.
I think my record indicates, and I may have something wrong, but my record indicates that the only vote that you missed that we could take back up, the only vote that you missed was the one of the Austin Housing Finance Corporation, and we would have to recess, go back and do that. So if you don't mind, we'll leave that one.
We don't have, sir, that's what I'm saying. I know that I missed it. I just wanted to optically present that I recognize that I missed it. We don't have to go back and do that.
Very good. That's the only one that I have that you actually missed. So I'll double check that before we end the meeting. Let me, for clarity purposes on the motion to amend, I think it'd be better if we have a specific date. And so, Ms. Harden, why don't you, instead
Yes,
of,
the postponement date, I believe that Councilmember Siegel is stating would be your next full meeting, which would be July 24th.
July 24th. So members, the motion to amend that Councilmember Siegel has made, I said that, I described what the next meeting would be, but that it would be July 24th. Has anybody got a problem with heartburn with me clarifying that? Okay, any other discussion? The vote will be on the motion to amend, would be to postpone. We would amend the consent agenda so that items 113 and 114 would be postponed until July 24th. Any further discussion? Yes, Councilmember Harper Madison.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to take the opportunity, if you don't mind, to take a moment of personal privilege and just say, you sound like I feel. I just want to remind our audience, our constituents, that we do this job no matter what. We do this job no matter what we're experiencing. We do this job no matter how we feel. I came home because I had a fever. I realized during the course of us presenting proclamations, which by the way, if I presented a proclamation to you this morning and I hugged you, I took the COVID test. I'm negative, but I still have a fever, in which case my inclination was go home. If you have a fever, you're contagious, you go home. But I think there are people who are looking at my empty seat and maybe wondering where Councilmember Harper Madison is. And I just want to take this moment, Mr. Mayor and Chair. I can hear you, and our constituents can hear you. You don't sound your best. You don't sound your most like Kirk Watson right now. And you showed up anyway. And I just want to take the opportunity to say, first of all, thank you for showing up anyway, but also recognize, y'all, we show up anyway when we have to, because we have to. And we are human beings who get sick and have fevers and don't want to get people sick. And so I wanted to say thank you for showing up.
Thank you very much. You've been talking very pretty today. So, I appreciate it. All right, Councilmember Siegel.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to actually address my comments to my colleague, Councilwoman Harper Madison. If you'd been here, I probably would have tapped you on the shoulder before making the motion to postpone. But I just want to see if you'd be okay with us working on this a little bit more.
Discussion is complete. Although, well, without objection, the motion will be adopted. Without objection, the motion to amend is adopted. That will take us back to the main motion. And the main motion, which was made by Councilmembers Ellis and seconded by Councilmember Vela, as amended, would be to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion on the main motion? Councilmember Cotter.
I just want to make quick comments on item 106.
Please.
Great, thank you, Mayor. So I'm really appreciative of the hard work and dedication of everyone involved in getting this much third reading today. As the applicant and my staff know, this was a very long process.
Any further discussion? With that being said, without objection, the consent agenda as amended is adopted. Thanks, everybody. All right, that will take us now, and the order will go in is 98, 99, 103, and 107. So, members, the way we're going to do this, because Councilmember Cadre had a specific motion with regard to 98 and 99, unless there's objection, what I'm going to do is I'm going to recognize Councilmember Cadre to make the motion, so we have a motion on the table, and then I will turn to the clerk's office for comment, and then we'll have the motion to vote. Councilmember Cadre.
Very tough question.
Sure.
Since items 98, 99, and 107 don't have as many speakers as 103, can we go 98, 99, 107?
Sure, man, I'm happy to do that. That's what I'm going to do. Let's go with 98, 99.
Yes, sir. I'd like to move items to 98, 99, to pass items to 98, 99, all three readings, with a staff recommendation in mind.
Members, the motion that we will consider is made by Councilmember Cadre, and that is to approve the staff recommendation on all three readings for items 98 and 99. It's seconded by Councilmember Velasquez, and I'll now turn to the clerk's office to start calling speakers on items 98 and 99.
For item 98, Betsy Greenberg.
Pam Bell, Karen McGraw.
Well, no, wait, we do that in advance, and we do that for a reason, so you please come forward.
The neighborhood has asked for a postponement. This is the first request for a postponement, and I don't see why you would pass this on all 3 readings. Please vote for a postponement. Thank you. We have a presentation. It's Carol Broad from Indian Worcester.
Okay, state your name for the record.
I'm Pamela Bell, and I'm the president of the North University Neighborhood Association. We've been working hard to change the zoning from MF4 to something that's more reasonable. Next slide. The property is the Austin Bricks for the Elderly block. That's what we call it. And it has a state landmark on it. And you can see the pictures taken of the landmark. Next slide. You can also see some of the little homes that are around this block. Next slide. We support affordable housing, but we want the project to fit with our neighborhood. We want to allow the project and protect the neighborhood, and that is why we have requested a postponement. Next slide. This slide shows 52.5 feet. The large bunker building is the block where there would be where the development is proposed, and you can see all the small buildings around. Those are our homes. And now I'll turn it over to your.
Has her name been called?
Karen McGraw.
Okay.
Mayor, council members. The neighborhood supports affordable housing and has supported this project. And there are not really any controversy. We can craft a solution that gives them what they need and protects the neighborhood. And the staff has been saying, no, we don't want to do it, no, planning commission, no, everybody's no, everybody wants MF4. Well, I'm going to show you what MF4 allows on the site. It didn't get in the presentation, so I'll just have to, no, it didn't, that's 52 feet. This is 900.
Oh, yes. Yes. You were walking.
At what point?
All right. Where are you going? I'm going to take you back.
I didn't think they unzipped it when I got here. They just ran it.
Yeah, you went. Came straight in.
Yeah. You want this one? All of it? I already went through screening.
I understand that, but you came in and went back out.
I just went to the bathroom.
Exactly. Out of my pocket.
You want to look at this? You want to look at that zipper? Okay. You want to look at this one? Okay. What you looking for? Secret?
There's no secret. But other than what they're looking for, we're looking for something totally different.
Oh yeah? Okay. I got one more zipper. I don't want me to see that one.
here? Okay, very good. Yeah, all-
Conley.
Up next will be Paul Gosling.
He's already taken over the podium. That's who I was saying with grimacing at me a minute ago, so that. Mr. President, what do you do?
Thank you, my brother.
I know.
Our key witness is Professor Gilbert. He has been pivot point of all the negotiations. He is on his way.
Okay, hopefully he'll be here by the time we call him.
I want to see the day where I'm free out.
Well, when you were yes, multiple times.
And I'm here to speak upon that organization. I'd like to point out that we are not opposed to condos or apartments being built on this site. But from the beginning, we have been opposed to proceeding with this project without ourselves being convinced that safety concerns have been taken into account. There have been multiple problems with slope collapse, both north and south of this site, in close proximity, and on both sides of Shoal Creek. And we believe that without, and it's the same geological arrangement as where those collapses have happened. Butyl limestone over Del Rio clay. It's problematic. It has been all over the city. And we believe that we need to protect against slope collapse through geological study, geotechnical design of a retaining structure, and monitoring of slope movement during construction. Slope failure is a complex topic. Many of you or your staff members have, and the City Planning Commission have been patient enough to engage with us and try to dig into this complex topic and understand it. And I want to express my thanks to those folks. We have made some recent progress on this project. Very recent, as of yesterday. We have worked towards a solution driven by Melissa Beeler from Councilman Quadri's office. She has driven the two sides together to agree to develop a memorandum of agreement on how to proceed that would continue to involve the neighborhood and the experts that we've engaged in this project as the design progresses, so that we're working together to make sure that this is done correctly. I'd like to point out, next slide, please. Just a reminder of where this is. It's on Shoal Creek Boulevard, just north of here is the conceptual plan for the project, and you'll see that it digs into the toe of this slope, and it's that digging into the toe that we're afraid will cause instability on this slope, as it has in many other locations. Next slide, please. We have a valid petition that has been signed by all of the individual property owners that are adjacent to this project. The rest of the land is actually owned by the city. So the 40% that you see on on the petition, it's actually 100% of all of the people who could sign the petition. Next slide, please. Now, I have learned a lot about geology and geotechnical engineering in the last few months, digging into this project. Mostly I've learned it from the following, the speakers who will follow me. Phil Bullock is a professional geologist, a senior consulting geologist. And Dr. Bob Gilbert is the chair of the Department of Civil Engineering at UT with a specialty in geotechnical engineering. He's also acted as a consultant for the city on slope collapses and instability in the past. These two folks have walked this slope, which is not an easy thing to do, by the way, because it is a deep slope right below that beautiful limestone. I chose to stay at the top and just watch them do it. But they have actually walked the site, they've located the critical environmental feature, and their explanation in the following talks will tell you why we're concerned about slope instability on this site.
Your 6 minutes has expired.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Philip Bullock, and Philip has time donated by John Spong, Megan Meisenbach. Okay, 6 minutes, please.
Is John Spong here?
Yes, I got confirmation.
Hi, Phil Bullock, and as Jim indicated, I'm a professional geologist with the state of Texas. This slide here is intended, it shows a cross-sectional representation of the geology that we have at the subject site. At the top, you have the Butte Formation, which is a very dense, massive, and highly broken limestone and outcrop along incised valleys like we have along Lamar Boulevard. The Butte Formation forms steep cliffs and bluffs. From a regulatory standpoint, this feature is identified as a canyon rim rock and classified as a critical environmental feature, or CEF. Directly under the Butte Formation, we have the Del Rio Formation. The Del Rio Formation is a clay, and relative to the Butte Formation is very soft. In outcrop, the Del Rio clay weathers to form shallow but fairly steep and typically highly vegetated slopes. And Professor Gilbert will be coming back to this slide. Next slide, please. So this is a photograph taken just upslope of the development tract. You can see the Butte limestone rim rock with the underlying relatively steep slope of the Del Rio. One of the things that we've noticed is that there are several trees leaning down slope, and we take this to be a sign that even in its natural state, the slope is not 100% stable. To the extent that it is stable, the toe of the slope can be considered the line of natural stability. The toe of the slope is basically where the natural weathering and erosional forces have come to rest. Next slide. So this slide shows the location of the canyon rim rock as the heavy black line, with the blue line being the development property boundary. I mentioned earlier that the city considers this to be a critical environmental feature, and along with that comes a 150-foot buffer. The buffer distance is shown by the red lines extending out from the CEF. As you can see, portions of the development, at least in this conceptual design, are located within the 150-foot buffer zone. And I want to note here that this 150-foot distance appears to be an arbitrary number. As I mentioned previously, natural stability in this geologic setting occurs at the toe of the slope, no matter what distance that might be at any given location. any disturbance to the slope, even just devegetation, can disrupt the natural stability, even if it's outside the 150-foot buffer. Next slide. And this, I just wanted to present this to clarify that this is a slide that was presented by the developer at the Planning Commission meeting several weeks back. And at the time, there's confusion on our part because it doesn't accurately represent the actual location of the CEF. The developer has subsequently clarified that this here was just meant to assure everyone they're aware of the CEF, and we'll be addressing it as part of the environmental resource inventory in site plan. So I just wanted to put this up there real quick just to close that loop. And with that, I will let Professor Gilbert talk to you about what disruption to the natural stability can look like. Thank you.
Bob Gilbert has time donated by Barbara MacArthur and Chris Page. Okay, 6 minutes.
Hi, my name is Bob Gilbert. I'm a professor at the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm going to talk about the stability of this slope. This figure from a 1970 textbook from another professor at the University of Texas, and Peter Flon, who many people know, shows that geology, and what it's showing us is that it's naturally unstable. The reason that that valley exists is because the geology is not stable, and the Shoal Creek has cut its way down through that slope by cutting into the Del Rio clay, which undermines the Buda limestone, and then the Buda limestone fails. Sometimes we speed up this natural process. So these slopes are all just at their verge of being stable. Phil showed you those trees that are leaning, indicating that the slope right above this proposed project is right at the margin of being stable. This is a slope along Martin Springs Road, south of the site, that failed in 1972. It was an apartment complex. They made a very shallow cut, 3 feet deep at the toe of the slope in order to level the site. And it occurred. I'm very familiar with that slope failure because we've used it in our slope stability class as a homework problem for the last 32 years. This is another slope that you all are probably very familiar with. This is Castle Hill. This was where the graffiti wall was. The graffiti wall was there because in the 1990s they tried to develop this site by making a fairly shallow cut at the toe of the Del Rio clay. They tried to hold it back with a retaining wall. The slope kept moving. They abandoned the project. Those abandoned retaining walls then turned into the graffiti wall. This is about 3 blocks south of the proposed project. In 1998, the city of Austin Water was cutting a shallow trench for a wastewater line at the toe of the Del Rio clay just north of 24th Street, and that cut caused a slope failure. In 2018, there was a slope failure at that same location just north of 24th Street at Woolridge Drive. It's a slope failure that I was retained by the city to help in a lawsuit. That lawsuit has subsequently been settled. On the other side of the street, while we were working on that lawsuit just last year, another slope failure happened in that same geologic setting. This is about 10 blocks north of the proposed project site. The significance here is that that development was allowed to progress because a variance was given to them because they were within 150 feet of that critical environmental feature. I want to look at the slope failure that happened at Woolridge Drive because it was different than what we have seen before, and it was sobering. The slope failure at Woolridge Drive was like 10 times the amount of material that any of those other slope failures that I showed you involved. The slip surface went down more than 30 feet below the ground, so it wasn't 4 feet below the ground like what I showed you in 1972 or like what was happening at Castle Hill. It cut back into the Buda limestone about 35 feet back into the backyards of property well above the toe of the slope, more than 150 feet away from the toe of the slope. The proposed development that has been given to the neighborhood shows a cut that goes down 30 feet in order to provide for a parking garage. That's a lot deeper than the 4-foot cut that led to the slope failure in 1972, and it's a lot deeper than the shallow cut that led to the slope failure in 1998, and it's a lot deeper at Castle Hill. So that's concerning. That slope at Woolridge Drive, and you look at the amount of material that you need to show up, that you need to hold up in order to keep that slope stable, that goes well beyond the property line, that's a significant engineering challenge. And so at Woolridge Drive, as an example of how significant of an engineering challenge it is, there was a plan that was put together by Hayward Baker to stabilize that slope, not cut into the slope, just stabilize what was already there, that cost between $15 to $20 million. So this, yes, you can stabilize this slope, but it requires significant effort, it requires a lot of money, and what this neighborhood wants is to make sure that this developer is aware of what is needed in order to make sure that that slope is stable. Thank you.
Paul has time donated by Josu Howard.
But one is I get to talk to you in zoning, the other is you only get privately, and in fact, most of the time, you get to deal with the staff after they have been working back and forth with the developer, and they come up with a joint idea about what it should look like. We'd like to have input at the front end, and that was agreed to. And here's a play of Bob Gilbert's commentary. Several of those collapses that you saw went through site plan. You don't have a geotech engineer to evaluate, so bad things can happen. So we moved this next phase of let's actually write an MOU, but it was yesterday when this came up, not enough time. But Leah Bojo, on behalf of the applicant, created sort of an introductory document that said, hey, this is what I think we agreed to. I took a look at that, and it is what we agreed to, but not all that we agreed to. And what our goal is to clearly be able to have Bob Gilbert and anyone else get involved at the front end of the design process, of the geotechnical design process. The applicant's response to us refers to structural engineers. Yeah, they're good, but they come after the geotechnical engineer, refers to working and developing this plan as you work toward construction. Well, yeah, you do work toward construction, but first you work to design. If we can get the design right so that we're comfortable that it's not going to fall down, all the rest of it's not going to be a problem. But we need to be able to work out this MOU, and I'm bringing this to your attention because it's happened sort of very quickly. I don't know that there's any additional relief that could come from you if anything goes wrong. But one possible referee of this is that the city could hire a geotechnical engineer on contract to hire, so that when the active engineer says A is the right way, and our guy says no, A isn't the right way, that's going to be a problem. And we're pretty comfortable that our guy, who was your guy, he needs to be listened to, but not by the staff that exists now. You need to have somebody qualified. Okay? So I'm urging you to at least do that as you listen to me. Okay.
Albert Meisenbach and Philip Wiley. Those are all the speakers for 107, Mayor.
Well, we decided to talk.
Well, this could be dangerous. I would like everybody to be happy here when we end this thing up. And I certainly don't want the slope to fail and for there to be damage to anyone's property. This site is so incredible. Right across from there is Kingsbury Commons. And there's one bridge that you can use between 15th and 24th Street to cross into the west side of the park. And it's right across from here. This is about the same distance from Peace Park as the tallest building, residential building in the world is from Central Park. It's about the same distance as the second tallest residential building in the world, which is across from Central Park. People want to live in parks. We need to do something to give people access or an opportunity to live in different places besides the side of I-35 or Rainy. All of downtown is very diverse in what it offers people. This neighborhood, frankly, I've lived there 33 years. I love tall buildings, they know that. We need to do something to get more people there. We have lost residents in the 33 years that I've lived there. And that just doesn't make sense. And we need to think about what we're going to do different going forward. And good luck to you on this. Thank you so much.
Mayor, all speakers have been called for 107.
All right, members, those are all the speakers that have been called, that are signed up on item number 107. We have a motion and a second. I'll bring that to Councilmember Condrey.
Yeah, I have some questions for the applicant. Yes.
Hello, Mayor, Councilor Leah Bojo, with John Gertz on behalf of the applicant, or on behalf of the property owner.
Thank you for being here. So my office works closely with the neighborhood and yourself to give more clarity. Slope stability issue near the site is typically more of a site plan issue and not a zoning issue, which I think has been highlighted by some of the speakers. But I'd like for you to walk through with the council what we've learned so far about the slope stability, and what you're committing to working with the neighborhood and geotechnical experts on for further design of the site.
Absolutely, and if I could, just make it clear that we actually have DB and ID right now. All that we're requesting is to add. I'm sorry, thank you, ETOD, I apologize. ETOD, DB ETOD zoning right now, we are only requesting a retail waiver on the shoal side. We are requesting to add a V, and we are requesting to add an MU only on the tail. So I just want to make it clear that the building isn't changing dramatically. We're just trying to kind of make it fit in this context, which is what staff has recommended and what Planning Commission has recommended. Through this process, we have learned a lot about the slope and the slope concerns from the neighbors. We did have a geotechnical engineering report completed, which I have copies of if anyone would like to see them, per Planning Commission's request. We also had a slope study done just in the last couple of days. I was out on site with geotechnical engineers looking at the slope with them. We looked a lot at the property to the north, which has a retaining wall, and they believe, and this letter outlines that they believe a similar solution could be applied to this site. The geotech revealed that the slope is the same and the geotechnical is the same. And in addition to those studies in advance, we also, the letter that Mr. Gosling referred to describes the additional geotechnical structural and slope studies that we would be doing, as well as meeting with the neighbors to report our findings and our design and hear their feedback, and also to hear feedback as we're going through design on the geotechnical and slope concerns and work.
Great, thank you. And then in addition to the letter you provided to our office on further commitments, you're committing to work with the neighborhood on an MOU, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
While you're there, you have another question?
I was going to have a remark.
You might ask a question too. Mr. Gosling indicated that the letter had, in fact, it had things that y'all agreed to, but there were other things that that you did also agree to that's not incorporated in the letter. I guess I want to know what the status of that is and what the status of getting to the MOU would be.
Okay. think my understanding is that this letter, which I believe you'll have in the backup, is sort of the concept, that there may be some fine tuning of how, what that communication would look like. I know Mr. Gosling wants to have his neighbors and his team sort of have oversight over our studies. We of course will already have and will continue to have licensed engineers doing the work. So, to be clear, we're hiring licensed engineers. These letters are both sealed. We expect that, that seal to continue. So I'm hoping that all of these professionals, credentialed professionals, can work together and agree on an appropriate outcome.
What's the step, how long will it take to get to the MOU done?
I hope it doesn't take very long. I mean, I think we've got what I'm imagining is we sort of turn this letter into an MOU so that both parties can sign it. This one's just signed by me and it's addressed to Councilmember Cadre's office, and maybe a little bit more nuance to it. We did receive Mr. Gosling's email from earlier this morning. My client and I discussed it, and so.
Thank you. Councilmember Cadre.
Well, I guess I really do appreciate the willingness to work with us. I really appreciate, once again, I'm going to give Melissa flowers to everyone else on her work on this. And, as you can see today, I think we have the possibility to pass this with a real path forward, further analyzing slope stability in this area and ensuring transparency and accountability in that process for the neighborhood. The case has really taught us a lot about our development process as it relates to these areas around critical environmental features. And I'm committed to working with my colleagues here who may have rimrock or other slopes in their districts to further explore with staff how we can best analyze and mitigate development in these potentially unstable areas. And I want to thank the neighborhoods for their advocacy and leadership on this issue, and I really do look forward to working with them and city staff on the next steps. And I think the one thing that I really want to make clear that we take all the feedback that we've heard, we take it very seriously. We work to make sure there's a real path forward, like I've highlighted, where we want to, hold the applicants' feet to the fire and really hold them accountable. So we're looking forward to make sure that a lot of these concerns that folks have are mitigated and don't become a reality.
Further discussion with regard to the motion. All right, I will say this: it strikes me as one of those odd situations we find ourselves in, unfortunately odd situations we find ourselves in, where this is a zoning matter, where, as I understand, it's even a down zoning, and yet I'm getting a lot of feedback today. It's very interesting. But my point being, it's a zoning item as opposed to where you normally would be taking up all of these things. And I get why the neighborhood would want to do that at this time. And I will assume, for the purposes of argument, that it's not doing it just because this is the best time to kill something just to kill it. That it's instead legitimate concerns about these things that have been brought up. So having said that, if we vote to do this, to make the change in zoning, because they can do something right now, they can do pretty much everything they want to do right now if it's a problem. The message that I hope that, at least from just this vote, wants to convey to the staff is we need to put this through the paces. The system has to work so that we don't end up having the council put in the position of having to vote on a zoning matter in this way, even when they can go forward tomorrow and do what has created the concern. It just won't have certain types of uses. That we are totally reliant upon staff to make sure that it does this the right way. And so, and I have confidence in the staff, and I say that out loud, I just because I think it's going to be important since we're voting on the zoning matter. Anyway, that's all I'll say about that. That being said, is there any further discussion? Yes, Councilmember Ducci.
Thank you, Mayor. Is it possible for me to ask planning a question along the lines of the comments that you just made a moment ago?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is it possible to ask planning a question?
Yes.
Or staff a question along the lines of your comments? A moment ago?
Sure. Is there somebody here?
This is probably a DSD question, but I'm here.
Thank you, Joey. My question is actually really simple, just based on the mayor's comments. What system do we have in place when we need to hire an expert in a particular field to work us through a complex problem like we've seen in this case, whether it's geology, biology, archaeology, whatever the specialist is? Do we hire an outside consultant, a consent inside plan? How does that?
We have watershed protection.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm an interim environmental officer, Liz Johnston. I think we have quite a lot of professionals on staff already that are, knowledgeable about these sorts of things. I think the issue is, if there's gaps in the code that may or may not allow us to require certain things. But if there's, an MOU between the neighbors and the applicant, then we can look at that and make sure that it's been appropriately reviewed, by either geologists in watershed or structural engineers and building permit reviews during that process.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was trying to confirm.
Yes, Councilmember Allison, then Councilmember Robert Madison.
Thanks. Want to make sure you saw her hand as well. I just want to communicate where I'm at on this. That I've dealt with a lot of issues where we're trying to deal with traffic patterns and watershed, flooding, and worked every single angle on this to understand, what questions are and what the appropriate pathway forward is. But I'm just hesitant, seeing some of the other issues that we've seen along Shoal Creek over the years, to make sure that I've done my due diligence as well before supporting it fully. But I'll abstain today, and if others are supportive, then I completely understand.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Robert Madison, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you recognizing me. I think all the things that I would have otherwise addressed have been addressed, with the exception of, I really want to take the opportunity, as we've heard the, contributions from our community, and frankly, let's just go ahead and keep it real. Our community includes good developers. That's the thing. It's a real thing. So as we take into consideration these discussions that have happened between communities and developers and people trying to reach agreements that by way of, so by the way, for example, Mr. Mayor, I think a lot of our constituents don't know that we don't have any influence over the restricted covenants. Like, that's not a thing that we have any influence over. And, or saying something along the lines of, we really appreciate the contribution of neighborhood associations, contact teams, et cetera, but us as a city, we frankly don't have any rules in place that dictates how neighborhood associations and contact teams work. So for what it's worth, I'm fortunate, you guys have seen my garden. I've talked to all my neighbors. So I recruited 19 new Davis Thompson Neighborhood Association members by way of just standing outside and talking to my neighbors. But they didn't even know we had a neighborhood association. So having neighborhood associations and neighborhood contact teams and groups, while I can appreciate that we should defer to those plans, the truth of the matter is, who's speaking for whom? If you got 12 people talking for 13,000 people, that ain't right, and that is not equity. So while I appreciate that some of the people that came forward today to speak candidly about who's who and what's what, I want them to recognize, you 7 people in a neighborhood of 74,000 people. How can you possibly be the singular voice? That is an unfortunate assumption on your part, but guess what? The beauty of it is, we can fix that. Let's go back and fix how we do neighborhood involvement. If all your neighbors don't know that you have a neighborhood association, then you're not doing this right. And when you speak on their behalf at city council, there are some names I can when you come to the chambers and stand at that podium and say, I'm speaking on behalf of, if most of the people you're speaking on behalf of don't know you're doing so, let's just call it disingenuous at best, and I'm offering you grace when I do that. So, Mr. Mayor, what I wanted to say was, as we're having these conversations, most especially about rezoning cases, I want us to, as a body, can we eventually have a discussion about expertise, et cetera, but we let lay people weigh in on zoning cases? I appreciate that neighborhoods should always have the opportunity to weigh in. However, if we have specific and explicit requirements, like even the fact that neighborhood associations don't have to meet requirements about how they recruit their leadership, we as a city don't have any requirements for them to check in and say, okay, we selected by way of our bylaws. We don't have any. So when we do this thing that we're doing right now, and we say, yes, approach the podium, yes, tell us how you feel about the thing. When people do the thing from what they are basically calling a perspective that is professional, neighborhood contact team, and. All right, well then you have to follow the same guidelines as anybody else. You have to have this level of consideration for your expertise, this level of consideration by way of, and this level of consideration. Because when we do it sloppy, willy-nilly, which is frankly, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, we do it sloppy, willy-nilly. We just let anybody who wants to weigh in. In fact, we let people, obstructionists, come from other neighborhoods into other neighborhoods and introduce things. And the fact that we have to come back, I'll leave it with this, Mr. Mayor. I think we should have a comprehensive conversation as a body about neighborhood contact teams, neighborhood associations, and all the things. That means they get to weigh in on what first. First, I want to put emphasis on the fact that these people got like 8, 9, 10, 12 years worth of expertise. We allow lay people to dictate what they do. So my hope is that moving forward, that we as a body, a group of pragmatic individuals, recognize that there should be a system for allowing for community input, because some of it, frankly, if you look at the zoning case that went extraordinarily well and the one that didn't, and then like what the neighbors asked for, some of it is wild, Mr. Mayor. I mean, down to construction materials, being able to dictate what organizations are allowed to implant by way of. Some of this stuff is not for us to determine. And so I look forward to us having a more comprehensive system for having these discussions that don't much council time. In my mind, this is not us to decide on. I think there's a separate body that does all that work, and then they bring us a vote. Thank you for my time.
Thank you, Councilmember Connery.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to get one point of clarification from you, if that's okay, and then I have another question for Leah. She's still there. Yeah. I just want to get confirmation. There's a ballot petition.
There is.
Correct. Okay, great. And then Leah, I got a quick question for you, if you don't mind. Oh yeah.
Go forward.
Just wanted to get confirmation the waiver and zoning change isn't approved today. What happens?
So we're ready to go through design. There is talk of just building the project under the current entitlements building retail and I'm not sure if we'd be able to fill it or how successful or what would be in there or whatever, but we are at a point right now where we need to move forward with the project, and so I don't know that we have time to wait for another postponement. We agreed to a substantial postponement from the neighborhood at Planning Commission with the understanding that we would do everything we could to get this done before the summer break. Of course, here we are. We agreed to a postponement also at the last meeting. I was just talking with Mr. Gosling, and I really do think we're on the same page as far as getting, and I can ask him, of course, but about getting this approved today and continuing to work together. I think that certainly this issue has been highlighted to all staff that would be responsible for review, all council, everyone. And to be honest with you, the ballot petition, it doesn't stop the project from happening. It only stops the transition area and the retail waiver. So it actually makes a more intensive project. So I don't think anyone wins from that.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Reynolds.
I've got a follow-up, don't go too far. So we just heard from a couple of the neighbors, and some of them have provided letters in the staff report that we've seen. Is it your understanding that the neighbors are supportive of the rezoning today, knowing that the MOU still needs to be discussed?
It is my understanding that they're amenable to letting the zoning go forward, knowing that we will continue to work toward an MOU that covers these items and some other sort of communication and input commitments.
Is that true?
Well, let's have the president there. He's nodding yes, but as long as you come up and say that.
I want to make sure I'm asking the right people the right questions. Usually when I see,
Well, Gosling's gonna talk you out of it.
usually when I see, geologists come up and say there's, some things that need to be looked at, that does not sound like a green light to me, and tell me your interpretation.
Okay. Looking at how the game is played, realizing that.
And don't put it in that context.
I'm sorry.
You make it sound like everything. It's not negative. We're trying very hard to get to an appropriate response here.
I'm an old jock and I think that way. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Former.
Whatever.
Right. We made a decision. We had a ballot petition. Our first choice would be, please approve our ballot petition. We changed our position. We worked with the developer, with Leah, to agree that an MOU would satisfy us so long as we could be sure that our experts got a chance to work on the design from the beginning. Okay? Now the question that you asked was, are we good with the zoning change and then we'll work on the MOU? I'd rather work on the MOU than say, hey, okay, we now agree the way we thought we had agreed. Right now the languages are different. What Leah wrote, which was just the first draft, what I wrote, which was, from my point of view, I don't think they're that far apart, but they are some distance. And I would prefer that we had that document done, but we didn't start it until yesterday, and we didn't get it done. So that's the answer to the question. I'd rather go in the opposite direction, but we're aiming toward the goal of saying, okay, zoning, condos, good.
It is. I appreciate that clarification. I think it's just different because we hear a lot of neighborhoods that want to come and make sure that the documents are agreed upon and signed in whatever capacity happens between neighborhoods and the applicants, since council are not involved in those and don't regulate those. So I don't even know if my vote matters. It sounds like the ballot petition is that still on the file? It's still a valid petition.
Sure, if they want to do that, that's fine, but I'm not here. I didn't push the ballot petition. I pushed making sure that my house is safe, my neighbors' houses are safe, and the hillside doesn't collapse, which will make them safe. That's what I think, thinking about what this body's primary duty is to protect public safety. And you have a chance to do that by making sure that this project is done in a safe way. And I believe that we should have some input into whether it's safe. And if batting order, I understand Leah doesn't want to wait 6 weeks. but if there's any way to say, hey, get this figured out and we'll send it to the MOU and then you can test it on. I don't know if there's a sequence like that available to you. Afraid it's not.
And Mr. Cosmic, as I've said now, this will be the third time I've said it, part of the problem here is we're dealing with the zoning. And I know you said up in your initial comments that you don't like that, but that's the way, that's what we're actually voting on. And a valid petition, even if we went with a valid petition, they still could go build what it is you don't want them to build. It's just the use that would be different primarily. So I hear what you're asking for. I'm just not sure that we're in a position, even though you just said you granted us that power, but I don't think you're right about that. So.
I don't know how much memory power you had. I'm on the same page with you, Mayor, in the sense that I brought this issue up and people are not conscious of it, and I think that's a good thing. I think it can be handled the same way you handle flood, the same way you handle critical water quality zones. This needs to be treated as sort of a special circumstance because the damage can be severe. And you know that in advance, you watch them fall down all over the place. Some of them have been approved, and then they fell down. So it's a serious issue.
Councilor Ellis, I interrupted you, and I apologize for that. Do you have anything more?
I don't, but I see the applicant have stand up again. Was there a final comment that Ms. Bojan wanted to make?
And then I'm going to recognize Councilmember Cadre unless somebody has a burning desire. So we have another very large case.
I would just say that we are committed. We understand the neighbors' concerns, we understand Mr. Gosling's concerns. We have a geotech already on board with the project earlier than would normally happen, and we are committed to continuing to work with him through the design process. I don't know what else we could do other than make that commitment to you on the record here that we will continue to work with them as we move through design and continue studies of the area. Thank you.
Yeah, one last question for the applicant. I saw Jose nodding his head, but I hopefully he doesn't have any questions. Otherwise, he's not going to be elected to that until next year.
I was going to read through my script again.
Come earlier.
Don't let him fake it.
Yeah. So, basically just a, yes or no question, but from what I'm getting, the zoning addresses the neighborhood's concerns, right? The retail brings more traffic, and the neighborhood doesn't want that. And the MOU uses townhouses, and that's what the neighborhood does want.
Yes.
So is it fair to say that the zoning addresses the neighborhood?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
All right, with that being said, that'll be the close on this. The vote is on the motion to approve on all three, readings, the Planning Commission recommendation. Without objection, the motion is adopted. Is there anybody want to show an objection? All right.
I would like to abstain.
Okay, then Councilmember Ellis. So the motion is adopted with on vote of 10. Does that mean you're yes or no? Councilmember Harper Madison.
Mr. Mayor, I was just wanting to make sure that I was, because I'm virtual,
It's 10, the vote is 10-0 to 1 in favor of the Planning Commission recommendation, and Councilmember Ellis will be shown abstain.
Thank you, I'm not an abstention vote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here, and thanks for the discussion. That will take us to item number 103. So that we have a motion out on the table the way we've been doing this today, so that we'll have something for people to actually respond to. I'll make a motion that we approve the staff recommendation on second and third reading with regard to item 103. It is seconded by Councilmember Baylor. So now we have a motion, and I'll turn to the clerk for discussion and public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. We had some people register for remote, but they have not joined yet, so I'm going to go straight to in-person. I am going to call several people at once. We have a lot of speakers on this item. If you hear your name, please come down, and when the podium is available, please state your name into the record. Rita Thompson, Judy Bradford, Marion Sanchez, Valerie Menard, Susana Almanza, Adrian Macias, Monica Guzman.
And so that everybody will know, when she calls your name, I'll just tell you, it may not feel like it to y'all, but it's helpful to us for you to make your way to the front, because then we know we have speakers that are ready to go. So if she calls your name, please come down to the front, so that we'll be able to work efficiently for you. Thank you, ma'am. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Rita Thompson. I've been a social service provider in Austin since 1980, and that has afforded me the privilege to work with various communities with different needs. We now know for certain that density does not equate with affordability. I have attended and watched the Planning Commission and the City Council where urbanists have claimed that they know the best practices and have dismissed the concerns of neighbors in their neighborhoods. This made me pause. My profession has a code of ethics and best practices, and I decided to go ahead and do a cursory check, and I found that the American Institute of Certified Planners has also a core principle in urban ethics. And let me just mention two of them: equity and justice. This principle mandates that planning decisions should be fair and just, ensuring equal access to opportunities and resources for all residents, regardless of their background or socioeconomic status. It requires addressing historical injustices and preventing the creation of new disparities through planning policies. And that's the key, new disparities. And I think that's the problem with DB9. The other one is ethical urban planning must consider the long-term environment, social and economic consequences of development. Sustainability demands that we plan cities in a way that meets the needs of the present without compromising future generations, and recognizes and works to mitigate the impacts of existing plans and procedures that result in patterns of discrimination and specifically it states displacement. So I'd just like to say real quickly, when you disrupt like
Your time has
this,
expired.
thank you.
You don't want to hear you.
Good afternoon. I'm Monica Guzman, District 4 resident and housing affordability advocate, reading a tenant statement. I've lived at Acacia Cliffs Apartments for a year, and I have a 1-year renewal of my lease. This is by far the only place I could afford to live in this neighborhood. I used to live 2 hours away by bus. Being in this location allows me to participate fully in life at my synagogue, which is on the JCC campus. I also take part in activities for older adults at Shalom Austin. My life has completely changed for the better since moving to Acacia Cliffs, and I have no idea what I would do or where I would go if I had to leave here in a year. Robin Rott, hopefully I'm saying it right, from Acacia Cliffs. Council members, versus me. Council members, you all told us you agreed that DB90 is not appropriate in all cases. The Acacia Cliffs Tenants Association has worked hard to create solutions. If there are enough council members willing to support the Tenants Association, council should vote no on this DB90 rezoning impacting the Acacia Cliffs tenants. This will allow the affordable developer to make a competitive offer that would preserve and even add to the affordability at Acacia Cliffs. The Tenants Association, nonprofits, community supporters, and neighborhood association would all work together to ensure truly affordable, dense redevelopment at Acacia Cliffs with high standards for you to postpone this rezoning vote until the bonus 90 amendment process is completed, so that tenants can benefit from beneficial changes, including required one-to-one replacement of affordable units, robust improvements, tenant relocation, preservation of naturally occurring affordable housing, and an increased minimum percentage of affordable units. I urge you to work directly with the impacted communities, community-based organizations to ensure Austin has a truly equitable plan informed by the directly impacted and includes an equity this is Judy Bradford, Meetings Council, here, wherever you were. This is a reprise of my testimony earlier, but this is in regards to item 103. Say no to rezone, so the people won't roam unhoused in their own neighborhood, where seldom is known an affordable home, and the future for Austin's not good. Pass anti-displacement today, pledge to make an equity overlay. We need you to care what happens here. We're watching and won't go away. We want our fair city to reflect our diversity, where all children can thrive and can play. And folks of all incomes can afford homes to live in, and no one is driven away. Pass anti-displacement today, pledge to make an equity overlay. We need you to care what happens here. We're watching and won't go away. We need you to choose so that poor folks don't lose the homes they so desperately need. Do the right thing so we can bring equity, not developer greed. Pass anti-displacement today, pledge to make an equity overlay. Please show that you care what happens here. We're watching and won't go away.
Alexia Leclerc, Pedro Hernandez, Betsy Greenberg.
With the exception of a few rebuilds after fires, I did not find demolitions without an upzoning. And why would I? Developers who request zoning changes uniformly get whatever they ask for. It's like Christmas here every Thursday.
This is City Council here. You can see them right here on the screen. They spend more time on preventing the public from accessing them because they sell out to the developers. Look at this shit right here. You can't even see your public officials because they want to like arrest you for going up there. This is a kiosk where you can register to speak. Type in here. I signed up for a bunch of stuff, but apparently I missed it. But yeah, they're gonna demolish that apartment like they have so many other apartments, and it's more about racial inequality. Good job. I like your song. You dropped your crack pipe, huh? No, that's good. We use the same song for Homer the Goose.
Okay.
Remember the Homer the Goose?
I don't remember Homer
Look
the
him
Goose.
up. It's so like number one, everyone needs to stop saying affordable housing because that is for yuppies from California. That is to displace. It's called low-income housing. It's a matter of law, and what they're letting us. Part of it is they spin our words, and it's not about like money. It's about skin color. They're coming after people of color, and they're racist. That means Chito Vella's a fucking racist, Velasquez is a racist, Vanessa Fuentes is a racist, Pio Renteria was a racist.
You know what really pisses me off? Her amendment, right? Makes her look really good, right? But it doesn't do shit because
They do that. It's all about face.
Because unless they require it, it means nothing.
Because it took direct money from the developers.
Well, that's what
They
I'm
take
like,
money
have
from
you
the
done
developers.
research on that, by the way?
Actually, the communists did, and they outed Pio Renteria. They took like a couple 100,000. They made posters and put them on the east side So like people need to do that research. I haven't had
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I'm fighting the police. They've been killing people left and right.
Right.
They've been throwing people down that are trans.
I've been working with the Austin Justice Coalition.
Yeah, they're fake. They work with
and-
the police. So Austin
well,
Justice, AJC.
well, we
so
actually-
Chaz Moore said he supports the police. He took all the training and he's not against the police. He put that on social media.
Well, I'm
So
just
Chaz
saying,
Moore sold out.
I'm just
if,
saying.
If these guys sold out, so did AJC.
I'm just saying-
And Chaz Moore pays himself like $200,000 a year.
Really?
Yeah. So does Chris Harris. These guys are getting paid a lot of money, and we're not getting any fucking justice, and we don't have a coalition.
Well-
What they are is they're called crowd control. They're called.
Let me just tell you, just
And he
so
hates me.
calm down for a minute.
No. I'll kick his ass if I see him.
So,
I'll kick his ass because he's getting us murdered. He's murdering us.
well, all I can say is, there's a lot of things that didn't go through the legislature that have to do with, at least being able to hold police and jailers accountable. And that happened because of the advocacy that our group did at the legislature this season. So
Yeah, I spoke to the Justice Committee. They're all corrupt too. You know they're all corrupt, right? Like they're corrupt. The Justice Committee for the Senate.
Oh yeah.
I spoke to them. Look, they're so fucking corrupt.
They wouldn't. I was working on a bill that would decriminalize test strips for fentanyl and xylazine.
Xylazine, I don't even know what that is.
Well, it's another. It's like fentanyl .20.
Okay.
Anyway, it had 100% approval from the entire House. In other words, it was passed unanimously, only to go to die in the fucking criminal justice committee in the Senate.
Yeah, and you got that Huffman lady, the biggest racist I've ever seen in my life. You got that Hinojosa asshole, who's also fucking racist if you let Huffman talk like that about our people.
Wow.
So like, it's gonna come around, and all this shit's gonna come burning down because Austin's gonna be the next George Floyd. Watch, we're setting ourselves up with all this bullshit that we're fucking around with these people. They don't give a fuck. Remember Natasha Harper Madison during the home thing? She said, "I already made up my mind, but y'all can talk."
Yes,
to hundreds of people.
I'll never forget.
She admitted.
I'll never
that's
forget.
honesty. She admitted they sold out to developers.
Right.
So they're sold out, and we need to get them out of
They
there
are.
by any means necessary.
They
That
are.
means we need to set up fucking.
We need
to set a fucking, what do they call it, wood chipper right out here and load them motherfuckers up because they're killing our people. They're killing 500 people of color on the streets a year. That's what I deal with. I'm with the Challenger newspaper. They're
Okay.
killing us. They've been killing us, and everyone here is just like, oh, I'm worried about my property taxes, or I'm worried about my zoning, or literally, it's a lot worse than that. And these people need to be held accountable, and they don't even know what the word means. They don't know what the word equity, accountability, transformative justice. Neither does AJC, and fuck AJC. If I catch them in my face again, they almost got me shot and killed at a commissioner's meeting, and my dog. So if I catch them in my face again, they're going to be in trouble. I don't like them. I don't like anybody associated with them. Good luck. I like your song. Fuck the police, fuck city council, and fuck everybody that works with them. Have a good one. Sooner or later, this place has to come down. This is the walls of injustice. This is the Klan. This is the new Klan. This is the Ku Klux Austin right here. This is white supremacy. The people in this building are working in their fashion to support white supremacy, and the place makes me sick. I know some of you guys don't believe in white supremacy because you're white or half white or whatever. I know some of you people think that white people are actually supreme to other colors, smarter. A man was talking to me yesterday, or no, it was this morning at sunrise, telling me, he's a white guy in a wheelchair, said that white people believe that they're superior and all that. You know, they're really looking down on the people who actually are superior. If you look at the actual natural history of human beings, white people are not the most superior. I haven't been throughout history, didn't build any pyramids. White people haven't done shit. You know what I'm saying? Elon Musk uses the name Tesla. He doesn't even use Tesla technology. It has nothing to do with the scientist Nikola Tesla. So what we have is just a bunch of posers. We just have trash everywhere. Just dysfunction, everything in society is collapsing, democracy is collapsing, and it's because white people have held the reins so long, believing that they are superior, and they've kept other people down through redlining, through murder by cops, through murder by every means necessary. It's those TK injury lawyers. I don't even know who they are. But by every means necessary, they've created the new Jim Crow, the new Jim Crow, the new Jim Crow, and that's where we're at now. We're heading towards federalized martial law across the United States, where you're going to be kept in your house at gunpoint by armed police, militarized federal police forces, which is all the police. The cities are no longer going to control the police. The sheriff's no longer going to be the lawful entity that you control and vote for. The police are being federalized by the MAGA Nazi regime. And if you don't know what's going on, you're not paying attention. Look at the laws. Our own police chief of staff, Robin Henderson, a black lady, said, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna do anything against the LGBTQIA community and immigrant communities, any people of color. We're gonna attack them. All they have to do is pass a law, and we're gonna follow it. We're gonna say we're just doing our job, just like the Nazis did, and the brown shirts and the SS, and the war tribunals. They said, "Oh, I was just doing my job." Well, those people hung. Okay, those people served life sentences, because that's not an excuse anymore to be a Nazi and just do that white supremacy Nazi work. And that's where we're at. And America's suffering from a curse of stealing indigenous land. And here we are. We're always stalked by security and police when we come to City Hall, like I was today. The guy wanted to look through my entire bag, want to open up everything. The other guy didn't want to do that, but that's the same guy that said he was going to tow me for showing up during South by last year and parking here and showing up to an event. He said he's going to tow me. Literally, I'm credentialed press. I have my press credentials on my car, on my vehicles, on my person. I have my badges right here. So, like, you know, I carry it on me. I put it on me. So they really can't. They can't. It says for marked media vehicles only. That's me. That's me. Yet there's always a threat. They always want to bully people. And the guy that was going through my bag today, that I videotaped on this live stream, that's the guy that threatened to arrest me. Got my face in it. I said, go ahead then. It's got all my video equipment and my trauma support animal, but go ahead, do it. Do what you're gonna do. So this one is George Washington 0146. It's a police vehicle. You can see the lights up here. And what's it for? What is it for? Why is it here? Why is this monster vehicle even here? I mean, it's probably one cop in it. Probably that sergeant. Look at this thin blue line fucking flag here, grayed out. But yeah, it's this is what we got to deal with to be free in America. And so you're not really free if you're dealing with these cops everywhere. If you're oppressed, you're not free. You can't be both oppressed and free. You people need to make up your fucking minds if you're going to be free, if you're going to argue about affordable housing for rich people. Rich yuppies like this person's coming up here. This person here from California, probably, no doubt. All these yuppies coming in here, they need affordable housing to move here, to displace people that are from here. Okay, people that have been here. I was displaced. Lots of people are getting displaced by the cost of living because the yuppies in California, the inflation's so high in California, a lot of people don't want to live there anymore, so they come here for lower rent and lower housing costs, and that doesn't drive, and they're willing to pay anything, and so the bidding wars begin, and you can no longer afford to live anymore. You know what I'm saying? And when you can't afford to live anymore, you're going to be homeless. You understand that? So we really need to talk about, we need to change the narrative. It's not affordable housing, it's low income housing. There's Health and Human Services and National Housing Metrics law that defines low income. I don't think there's any law that that's affordable. Affordable is a slippery slope. It's just an open term. It's almost like equity. Equity don't mean shit to the city of Austin. Equity is just a fucking word that they wipe their ass with. just like accountability, transformative justice. And you know who else is wiping their ass with it? Their partners in crime, Austin Justice Coalition. Oh, what the fuck is that? Oh, that's this Cybertruck's honking. That was a weird horn on the Cybertruck. You ever heard that before? That was interesting. Thought it was some kind of emergency vehicle. But still over there honking at people. But Austin does not rock. Austin kicks rocks. Austin has become the kind of place that people don't want to visit anymore. From the police to the just the city's falling apart. The infrastructure's falling apart. They can't even keep the cracks out of their sidewalk. People trip all the time. Look at all the tripping hazards. So say you're in a wheelchair or a walker right here, and you trip on all these little these manhole covers and shit. There's a big old hole right there. You get your cane stuck in it. You sue the city for $100,000. But the city doesn't care because the city has a $5.4 billion general fund a year. That's their budget. That's their general fund every year, and growing. It was 4.3 billion a couple of years ago. Now it's 5.4 billion. So billions and billions and billions of dollars. Yet they let people on the street just suffer in the Texas heat, just freeze they make them freeze. The city will literally steal everything you own and make you freeze to death, like they did to the young lady named Hymn, Hymn, like hymnal. She died because the city swept all her stuff, took everything she owned. So, oh boy, that's how people drive around here. They just cut you off. You got to honk at them. You got to communicate with them because they don't have any shame. They just cut you off like this lady did from Colorado, no doubt. Yeah, these out-of-towners, that's a guy. These out-of-towners come in from out of town and they just want to break shit, fuck shit up, run you over, kill you. They don't care. The sociopaths. This is where my tent was when we were protesting for, hold it, was it there? I feel like it was behind this rock. But I had a tent here in protest of the lack of housing, lack of affordable, I'm sorry I said it, lack of low-income housing, affordable for poor people. Affordable for who? That's the problem with the word affordable. Affordable for who? We were working with AJC. Fuck AJC. Fuck AJC. Fuck Austin Justice Coalition. Fuck them. Fuck Chaz Moore. I got people in the streets that want to kick his fucking ass. He is getting us murdered on the street. Austin Justice Coalition, they're pieces of fucking shit. They need to leave the fuck out of Austin. They're just paying themselves money and trying to give them their sociopathic face. They're not doing anything for police accountability. They support the police. They openly support the police. And then they create this dialogue in the media, in social media, where the police and the police union says, oh, AJC's harming us so much. Oh, they're so radical. They literally haven't never had a protest since David Joseph. They stopped having protests. They haven't had a protest in years. They have rallies instead, where they just hang out with a bunch of white people that don't do shit. But look at this crap that the city leaves here. Look at all this shit that the city leaves here. All this shit. Clean up your mess, City of Austin. Do something. The city can't take care of its own shit and hold itself accountable, but they want everyone else to be held accountable and up to the law. They want everyone else to mow their yard, but the city don't mow its own yards. They want everybody else to clean up their trash, but the city don't clean up its own trash. And Lady Bird Lake is disgusting. There's been like 30 plus bodies found in there. The police have been dumping bodies in there for years, and we just had another body found in there, 2 more bodies found in the last couple of weeks, and nobody knows anything. All we know is the medical examiner says they drowned and that there was no water in their lungs. So we know the medical examiner's covering for bad cops, just like he covered for the cop that dissected teenage homeless people years ago. The medical exam, Bayardo was his name. He covered that up when a cop gutted those kids, because the Challenger mentioned them in the newspaper, mentioned the cop in the newspaper, which cop was hurting people. So he decided to gut up some teenagers down near UT. So, yeah, this place is corrupt, man. I don't even know what to do with this shithole. All I know is there's a lot of work to do, and I'm not sure what it looks like, but I think it has a lot to do with getting some of these shitlickers out of our offices. Get them out of these suits and into the streets. Make the city council homeless. Make the city council suffer. By the way, all these people are going over this cocaine club over here. When we were camped out here for the occupation, in our tents, there was people fighting over here, young people that were fighting over here, talking about all the cocaine they do at Three Forks Prime Steakhouse here, 111 Lavaca Street, and that's where all these people are going, is over to the cocaine club. You got the guy with the Richard Spencer haircut over there, obviously a yuppie, white supremacist. And you got all these other yuppies. They're gonna go over there and get drunk and do coke and fuck around while other people die and suffer. There they go. That's where all these yuppies are fucking going. Did I guess right? Let's find out. Did I call it right? Just an educated guess, but Richard Spencer's going in. Yeah, and Richard Spencer's opening the door for all the rest of them. There they all go. All your fucking yuppies going to get their steaks and liquor and coke and whatever they're gonna do while other people suffer. That's the problem. That's the problem with that. Richard Spencer's looking at me. Fuck these assholes. Yeah, I'm in a bad mood. I hate the city council. They're so fake. I hear them being fake. I see them being fake, and I see all the fake activists that show up to like work with them. Fuck that. All right, over and out. I'm done with the city council today. This place pisses me off, and I don't give a shit about these codes. I want justice. I want accountability. I don't want to talk about anything else. This man's having to dig through the trash while the other people are in there getting steaks. And these people walk right by. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about their fellow man or woman in this, or anything in this city. Nobody cares about other people. Everybody only just cares about themselves. And this city's sick. This city's sick. The city needs to go down. I can't wait for the economy to smash. I can't wait for the housing market to crash. People are going to go from, oh, I paid too much property. I paid so much property taxes because my house is worth so much more than when I bought it. You know, my house is worth 10 times worth as much as when I bought it. And it has to go in the dumpster, actually. But I'm not worried about you. Just worried about my property taxes. And all of a sudden, their house is worth nothing. And they got to bail because the economy crashes. That's what I'm looking forward to. We need to